Okay, good morning. Good morning. I'm very happy to see you today. And my name is Efe West, and welcome to another episode of Afro Scientific Spirituality. This is the channel where we separate the facts from the fiction, the science from the superstition, and the concept from the misconceptions. Today, I'll be interviewing my brother and fellow occultist from South Africa, named Arsonist Fire. So it's a pleasure to have you here today, and I'm very delighted. So I would like you to tell me more about yourself and your practice.
Pleasure to meet you too. This is Arsonist Fire. My real name is Tsebo Sokopolo. I chose the name Arsonist Fire because it represents a change in me, and it represents me taking back my awareness and responsibility for my destiny, my mind, and basically my fate. I'm from South Africa. I'm 23, and my occult practice started when it was in 2019. As other occultists, I was also a Christian, very, very deep into my Christian practices till I saw a loophole in the Bible. Then I decided to dive in to the occult practices, whereby I started practicing by reading books from Michael Ford. It was a left-hand book by the name of Beginning Luciferian Magic. That's how my practice started. And now I've changed into Hinduism because I've found peace in Hinduism.
I can understand.
As they like to say, can you please tell us about your practice? How did you start? And
okay.
Yes, basically what led to it.
Yeah, my practice actually started from the study of history. I started my journey when I discovered about ancient African history that I did not know of before. I finished my first degree in Delta State University. That was 2005. I graduated from a whole university in Nigeria without knowing anything about ancient African history. So I actually have my spiritual roots in the Resecution Society, AMOC, in Nigeria. But I joined this organization when I was living in Thailand, Bangkok. I was in Bangkok for about 8 years. So I was able to have a lot of time to study about their spirituality. So I wanted to know more about the concepts. So when I got into Resecution, they gave me the access to their library. So that was when I started discovering books about Greece, ancient Greece, their belief system, their culture, their way of life. And I discovered that all the Greek philosophers were claiming that they came to Africa to study. So I was shocked. I thought the whole of Africa was a jungle, that we never have anything like civilization. There was no schools. We have nothing. Europeans gave us everything the way they are teaching in schools, that they gave us everything. How come all Greek philosophers are saying they studied in Africa? So that quickened my curiosity, and I wanted to know all about ancient Africa. That was what led me into the study of ancient Egypt, the Kemetic system, and the whole of North Africa. That was what led me to cover the history of Africa. I was shocked to discover that we had a very, very rich history that was full of all sort of advancements and was full of all kind of technological applications. So I was so surprised that there was a whole world out there that people don't know about, that is deliberately hidden from us. So that was how I started my journey into spirituality and occultism. And later I got to a glass ceiling in the Resecution order because they were mainly focused on mysticism, what they call the white magic, the right hand paths, the sole aim of the mystic is to meditate and go back into the Godhead at the end of their lifetime to neutralize and kind of absorb themselves. But I could not agree with that philosophy because I believe there was more. So when I got to that point, I decided that I cannot offer, this is not, my spirit told me this is not the end of the journey. So I left the organization and I crossed over to the left-hand path. That was where I discovered the real African spirituality. That was where I discovered the truth about the African people, and that was where my mind was rested. And I discovered more about science of African spirituality, the concepts and quantum physics. So that is how I started my practice. And the journey has been very interesting ever since then. That's been a whole new world for me. So I have been able to compile Black history with well-documented scientific evidence of more than 250,000 years. We have that on paper. We are very sure and certain of that because we have all the scientific evidence. There's another 250,000 years as well that we are not so sure what really happened back then. So I cannot really say we are certain about those. But we have records of African history. These are things that have happened before the Western inception of Christianity, before the birth of Christ. Yes.
Oh, okay.
So many people believe that Africa have no history. So I am here I beg to differ because we have that, but for some reason, due to Western colonialism, this this history was deliberately withheld from us. So I decided to go into spirituality to start a kind of forum, or how would I say, movement to educate people more about our history and to break out the misconceptions, to separate the misconceptions from the real concepts in African spirituality, because there are so many misconceptions in African spirituality. There are so many superstitious beliefs inside. And sadly enough, so many people believing all these things that are not true. So what is really true in this African spirituality? So that is why I wanted to start this awareness campaign to talk about this subject, to bring it, because it's like a taboo subject. People don't even want to talk about it in real life. People don't want to talk about it. People just want to ignore it, and it is there and it's affecting them. And there's also the issue of religion, how it affects Africans. So I wanted to bring all this topic up. That is why I decided to go into this path as well. So I would like to know about your spiritual path, your spiritual practice. Are you practicing just Hinduism, or you're mixing it with African traditional practices?
Okay, I do practice African traditional practices, and I do mix a little with ceremonial magic, and I also mix with practices from the Golden Dawn. I basically mesh in everything that fits me at that particular time, but my main focus is on Hinduism. This is the reason why in Hinduism, like, it's much more easier for.
Okay, hello? Hello? I think the cam is frozen. Hello, are you there?
To connect to the spirits there, because most of the spirits there, I can connect to them without actually do mental offerings sometimes that you can stuff on Hinduism.
Okay.
And in other pantheons and medical orders, you actually buy more tools to occupy space, and then you are ineffective in your magic. So that's why I focus mainly on Hinduism.
Yeah. I noticed that Hinduism has to do a lot with meditation,
Definitely, yes,
singing of hymns, and the yoga, asana,
definitely.
postures. You do all that, you incorporate all those as well in your practice.
Yes, I do. I do all that. I do asanas. I chant mantras. I do what do you call it? I balance my chakras, and basically that's everything you can do in magic. Basically, that's everything.
Yes,
Because with mantras, you can influence people with mantras. You can attract spirits to you with mantras. You can attain magical powers with mantras. And then with yoga, it's just there to tone your body, to help you concentrate much easier than when you actually meditate. Because when you meditate, it's a much higher practice because you have to concentrate on something that's abstract. So yoga is there to channel your body, using your body and external things to help you concentrate and narrow down your mind into actually focusing on your higher self. I don't know if I said
yes, I
correctly.
understand what you said perfectly. And I have also come to notice that meditations, they are very, very effective as well in spiritual practices. And
It's very effective and very
yes,
simple.
in fact, that is the foundation. That is the foundation of spiritual practice. You have to meditate if you want to go into spirituality. And this is what I tell people, new people that want to come into spirituality. You must find time to meditate because that is where it all starts. You can buy all the tools,
It's very, very
get an elaborate altar, very expensive altar, very beautiful altar. If you don't meditate, all those things is just for show. It is not going to work. It's not going to work effectively. So I also adopt the Hindu practices in my own practice as well because I've seen the efficacy
if you can't meditate, you won't
of
go
it
anywhere.
and the discipline that it brings as well. But most people I noticed in the African traditional practice, they don't really meditate much.
Yeah, so why is that, brother? Why is that?
I don't know why. I believe that most of them during the era of colonization, they
Okay.
have forgotten that aspect of this the practice. I believe it's a part of the practice, but many cultures have forgotten about it, so they don't do it anymore. What they focus on is just sympathetic magic and root magic, mixing of elements to create change. They forget about the discipline. Many of the
Do
parts
you
don't have
actually
part working. Yes.
do you actually think that they used to meditate before?
Yes, I
Okay, I know
believe,
in Egypt.
yes, I believe they used to meditate. But due
Wow. Even the
to,
shamans.
yes, the shaman eventually must meditate, especially the shaman. So
Wow,
when I
it's
go
so
deep,
interesting.
I try to study the racial system, even my own cultural system in Nigeria. There are some elements, some words in my culture, in my traditional language that are in consonant with deep spiritual principles in Egypt, in the Hindu practices. But people in my culture, they don't know the meaning of those words. They just use it as a title that they give when people want to take like a chieftaincy title. They just give you these names, but they don't know that those names
Okay.
have deep spiritual significance. I have been able to discover some words like that. So I know that they have that aspect of the spirituality, but somewhere along the line, they have forgotten them. Hello? So that is a problem. Yeah, you came back now. Okay. So we
Yes,
have
I'm back.
that. So I encouraged it a lot that you have to meditate. And I also encourage reading about your history, reading the right books, not just reading any kind of material out there. Because I also discovered that reading is a form of meditation. But many people don't
Definitely.
know this. When you reading the right kind of material, your mind is quiet, and you are actually like you are programming, absorbing, or installing new information into your operating system, which is the mind. And the right kind of information you install into your mind will actually reprogram your consciousness at a new level. So the first thing I encourage new people to do in spirituality is to, especially new Africans that they know nothing about themselves. Most of them just want to go straight to the metaphysics of the thing. But you cannot build a house without a foundation. That house will be faulty. You might rush and just put the blocks and start building, but with that house, it's not going to be strong. Any little thing that happens, any winds, any little shade, the house will come down. And it happens to a lot of them. And then they started blaming spirituality, that it's not working, it is not right. Many people have this problem. So I keep asking them, you really want to be strong in this practice? You want to go follow this practice? You need to know who you are. You need to know your real history. Because once you know that, that is where you now have a good foundation. And once you know the real history of Africa, you can be able to work with any spiritual system in the world effectively.
Definitely.
Yes. So that is the foundation. And you must read. So many of them are afraid of reading. I noticed this with so many Black people. And they're saying that the best way to hide something from Black people is to put it in a book.
Put it in a book.
It's true. It's true. Sadly, it's true. Put it in a book, they will never read it. But you show it to them, they might see it if we align with their subconsciousness. But in a book, they don't read. But they like to listen and they like to look. So I have been thinking of how to solve this problem for my people. Part of the reason I decided to go into fashion, to incorporate spiritual designs into modern fashion. So that when they see designs, it is going to stir something in their subconscious mind to remind them of who they really are, or to bring them closer to the spiritual path. Because I've discovered that they don't read. So we have to find a way to reach out to these people. Because what is coming for the assuming from here we continued, I would like you to tell me more about your experience or the mixture of the Hindu practices and the African spiritual practices.
Can you repeat the question again?
Yes, I want to know more about your experience mixing native African spiritual practice and Hindu practice. You told me that the Hindu meditation chant is much more better. You prefer it more because it uses less tools and for your practice, and you get maximum experience. You get maximum use of your spirituality for self-development. Yes, I also agree with that aspect as well. And I believe meditation is also part of African spiritual practices, but it is a forgotten fact due to maybe the ancient migration patterns and the constant communal wars and instability that have been on the continent. Yes, I think it might have affected how Africans practice their spirituality to the extent that most of them actually forgot about practices of meditation for self-development and spiritual growth. So I quite agree with you on that aspect. My experience, yes,
my experience is that most of the things, they can be reconciled, and most of the practices have commonalities. Like in Hinduism, the gods can be reconciled in voodoo. I've recently found out that you can reconcile the voodoo deities with the Zulu deities. It's basically seven orishas and those 7 Zulu deities, and you can also reconcile it with the Hinduism. And I've also found out that the Hindu gods can also possess human beings, like in a trance, in rituals with voodoo gods. It's also possible. I've also found out that it's just the same way of doing things, but I mean, it gives you the same results, like when you want to put a spell on someone. In African spirituality, most of the time, you use tools, you mix herbs and stuff and different elements to cause a certain change. But in Hinduism, you use mantras, and you also can use herbs and elements. But to reach the ultimate goal of changing the environment and changing the circumstances, they do the same thing, but the method by which they go through it's actually different, but the results are the same. And I used to have an inferiority complex. Why? Because I used to look upon those that have initiated in the African spirituality system. I used to look at them with admiration, and I used to think that they were superior because some of the practices that they do, like putting spells on people and doing other things to influence people, looked rather dramatic with their rituals. And I didn't think that you can have the same power in Hinduism. Take, for instance, recently, do you remember when I said something about somebody bewitching me in the group?
Yes.
Yes, I was able to actually stop that person from carrying on with that spell, and I only used the mantra, and I only did it once. And
Just once.
Just once. It was.
Wow. That is very nice. That is nice. I totally agree with you on that. The deity reduplication. There are some certain deities I have come to discover in Africa, like the Kemetic deities, the main principal aspects. You can also see the reduplication of them in Africans, West African spirituality, like the Kemetic deities of, we talk of Asa, Eru, and Aset, which is Isis, Horus, and Osiris. And we talk about deities like Ampu, Anubis. We talk about segments like Oya, and those deities that are in Egypt, they are also the same deities you will find the Orisha system in West Africa, Yoruba tradition. You will also find them in the Voodoo system in Benin. You will also find them too in the Brazilian system of Queen Banda. So they are the same deities, but they have different marks or different personalities or different way of approaching them based on the culture that you find them. You will also find these deities too in Western black magic gatekeepers. They are also there as well. So it's just a matter of tracing the origin of these deities and then looking for the systematic similarities between these deities. You can actually trace the root of these deities back to Africa as well. So then for the practices, both West African practice, they make use of this root work, mixing of herbs, mixing of items. They do that a lot in their spiritual practices to effect change in the physical world. We call it a low magic, sympathetic magic, because it is more closer to the earth and you're actually using earth elements from the world as mixtures, as material in the magical practice. Most of the West African spiritual practices are vested in this form of spirituality. They call it root work, voodoo work. And I have discovered that this practice also makes use of the scientific principle of what we call quantum entanglement. Quantum entanglement increases, has been proven by modern day scientists, is scientific fact, that if you can take the sample or a piece of a specimen, you can use check the change on that specimen, and that change will be reflected in the other aspect of the specimen as well. It is a scientific fact, and it's quantum entanglement. So when in African spirituality, the practitioners want to do a root work, you might see here that might ask for personal properties of the, how will I say, the specimen or the person or the situation they want to work on. Maybe like a picture, or anything that we have a symbolic representation of that person or that situation, then we mix with elements that we give them the kind of results they want in that situation. So by using this principle of quantum entanglement, they are effecting change on that piece of item with the hope or with the view that the same change they effect on this particle is going to be reflected, or is going to be affecting the other particle at a distance. So they do this a lot in their practice. I have discovered it, and to a certain extent, it work or may not work based on the situation of things. Yes. So this is one factor as well. Then I also want to ask you about something, mind over matter. Yes, they say man is not a complete physical animal. Man is made of a spiritual component. That life force that animates the human being. As I'm talking, that thing moving, yes, something you cannot see, but it's animating the life force. We call it a spirit particle. So by going into meditation, the practitioner is trying to use that mind force to instigate change in the physical world. So most people argue that it is just mere imagination, that it's just imagination something, and it comes to reality. But whether we like it or not, there's something that is a force that is behind the imagination. And by putting that will, that intention into the physical universe, you are actually wishing or silently praying for something that you want to happen to actually manifest. And yes, it is also a scientific principle that also works to a certain extent, meaning that optimism is good in life. You have to be optimistic in whatever you want in life. So if you are optimistic about a certain situation, it will come to reality. So in meditation aspect, it's a way of trying to be optimistic about the kind of situation that you want to occur to you. Okay, let's say it's like a placebo effect of believing that something, you are sick, you take a medicine, you don't know if it's the right one, just believe that it's going to work. It's going to work. Yes, we don't know why all this work to a certain extent, but they are still researching and on it with the option that we are going to find out more in the future. And we know many people practice this meditation system in the ancient world. So, and they are very, very vast in it as well. So I would like to know more about the practice. You mentioned something some time ago about burning of clothes, old clothes, as a spiritual practice. Yes.
Oh, okay.
What is the symbolism behind it?
Okay. The burning of clothes. I had a video on my channel. It was said like it was titled "Everything Came from Nothing," I think.
Okay.
Yes, I was at the point whereby I wanted to manifest some things in my life, clothes in particular. So I used the philosophy of nothing. Let's make this clear. To actually do something in this world, you have to start from having nothing, right?
Yes.
Even if you want to, let's say maybe you want to put furniture in your house, you should first clear your house and leave space for nothing, right?
Okay.
Yes. So I wanted to manifest new things in my life. So I used my clothes to actually manifest new things. My clothes represented an older aspect of me. So I had to bend those clothes and stay without nothing to actually accomplish having something. And clothes being something so close to me and my heart, I actually was able to convert that energy of attachment into pure universal energy to actually pair with my thought and effect change on the universe. That's it, simply put.
That is very wonderful. That is very, very wonderful. So
Thank you.
I think it's a good point. For you to bring something new into your life, you need to actually create space for that thing to come into your life. You actually prepare for it. It's part of preparing your mind as well, preparing the mind, body, and spirit for something new. Then
Yes,
the
it's like
deity that you use for this ceremonial process. What is the symbolism of the deity and the aspect of fire in this the whole setup? The element of
okay.
fire, what role does it play? Is it like the phoenix in ancient Egypt from ashes,
No,
from the ashes, something like that?
okay. One way of looking at it, it's actually like that. But another way is this: everything in this universe has a spiritual aspect to it, and it having a spiritual aspect to it, it actually has consciousness. So giving something to the fire, you are actually giving it to a being, a conscious being like you. So it's that whenever you give out something, it comes back. It's just like that. Nothing complicated, nothing too scientific. It's just exchanging energy with conscious beings. Yes.
That is nice. That is nice point. I have learned of people offering born sacrifices in many cultures across the world. Like it can be an animal. Most times they use a chicken or a goat. But I've never heard anybody using old clothes for this kind of sacrifice. I will not even believe that it will work until you came along with it, that you tried something like that. I will never do that. Old clothes, wow. Which date is going to accept old clothes, that's something that you don't want to use anymore? You have to burn it. It's like you're not actually spending anything, you're not wasting anything. You didn't even spend, because most people believe that for your sacrifice to be accepted, you have to put some energy into it. You have to actually spend money to buy something. It has to cost you something. But for me, if after wearing this shirt for like 2 years, I cannot wear it anymore, and I've bought it to a deity, I didn't lose anything because I've already overused the value of the shirts. Meaning it's just like a rag. So no day it is going to accept the rag. So rather prefer me buying a new shirt and burning it because it's going to cost me something that, yes, this is a new shirt, but for an old shirt that you don't want to use anymore, you're now sacrificing it symbolically to this deity, and it was accepted and actually brought new changes, new set of wardrobe for you. It's something new for me. I think I will try it in the future as well. It will be very beneficial for me. So I'm happy about that. Then also too, we want to know about
simply giving energy. But now the secret is, can you hear me?
I can hear you now. I can hear you.
Yes, the secret is in the fire. The fire has power to actually return things to their primal form. Everything is energy. Whenever you offer something into the fire, it brings it back to its primordial form, to its energetic fundamental form. So whenever you put clothes, whenever you put chicken, whenever you put a watch or maybe sunglasses, you are burning those items to return them back to their energetic fundamental form, and then you send them out to the deity. The deity will actually accept the energy, not the t-shirts, but the energy behind it, because everything is energy, and all that you have to offer to make things come to pass, it's energy. Simply like that.
That is right. I totally agree with you. So the energy cannot be destroyed. According to it, another principle of physics as well, but be transformed from one form to another. So what you're actually doing is just observing a scientific principle of returning one piece of matter to another state and then bringing it back into a new form. So I totally agree with that. I think that's scientifically valid. You have a point there.
Yes.
Very grateful for that, and I will note it. Then I also have another question I want to ask you.
Okay.
You, in your practices, you sometimes evoke deities, right? Okay. So manifestation, let me say visual manifestation, whereby you see this deity or ghosts, it might be spirit of people that have passed on. Have you ever evoked spirit of somebody that has passed on before?
I haven't evoked it, and I haven't actually seen any spirit with my eyes. I only feel certain sensations, and that's it. In terms of that dramatic manifestation of evocation, I've never had any experiences with it.
What of in your third eye, in your mind's eye, have you been able to see any of these deities that you see when you you imagine something, when you see something in your mind, like a visual representation?
Oh, the only thing that I've seen are the jinn, but then it was by way of using the black mirror, and that's it. Never seen anything besides that.
What about in your dream? When you dream in night, have you been able to see any of these deities in dream?
I've never seen any of the spirits. I think it's a certain level that you have to reach to actually have spirits manifest to you in dreams. Because me, I started this path like 2019. I don't think I've advanced to that level. Maybe I'm wrong.
Okay. I want to know your experience. because I have my own experiences as well. You know, in this part, you get to hear a lot of stories, they get a lot of testimonies, and a lot of grimoires about invocation and evocation. We tell you that you have to draw a circle, do a triangle, and you call on the spirit at a certain time, then you're going to see a manifestation. I have did that many times, but in my own experience, I have actually never seen any deity the way they write it in those grimoires. And you know the way Western grimoires, they paint the deity to be like some horrible creatures. So we be like subhumans, animal mixed with human, like in a horror movie, scary, terrible, like a total, how will I say, something that grows. And then we say, yes, this growth spirit have some good qualities. Then, in all my invocations, attempted invocations and evocations, I have never seen the deity like the way that we say this is demon, the typical demon look. I have never seen that.
True, and I've also seen I've noticed something that I was doing shadow work during the week, so I was trying to reintegrate with a certain aspect of myself that's been separated from me. So that aspect, it actually came to me in the form of a character that I saw in a movie. It was X2. That blue thing that you see, that blue creature that you see in X2 is actually that creature that manifested unto me. And in the case of the jinn, the picture that appeared to me in the Black Mirror was actually the picture of the devil with the two horns. It was
the classic jinn figure face.
Yes, I think it uses something that you've seen before, and it doesn't actually use those appearances that they write about in grimoires.
Exactly.
In some cases, the spirits will actually have to tell you that, hey, I am King Paimon. Otherwise, in your dreams, you wouldn't recognize those guys. I think so.
Yes, because in my own experience, I have been practicing close to 10 years now. And I did lots of evocations because I took, due to my upbringing and the way I came into spirituality, I came through I'm very logical and scientific. So I came through that way. So I always follow the steps, follow everything according to the plan, according to the description, the methods. But for a very long time, I could not achieve this so-called aim of the physical manifestation. So I was thinking that I was not good enough. I have not been advanced yet to a certain level. That is why I'm not saying it the way people claim or people write in their grimoires that they are supposed to be seeing it. So for a very long time, I kept silent about this phenomenon. Then later on, I started getting in touch with other spiritualists, other practitioners. I started asking them about their experience. Then I come to discover that it is not as it is written in those books. Or maybe is it due to the fact that the people that wrote those grimoires are all white people, so they see spirits as horrible creatures. We Black people do not see these spirits as horrible creatures. In all my evocation experience, I have did some kind of serious, heavy evocations. I have called on multiple deities, called on ancient. There was a time I was doing like 50 libations every day to various African deities. Yes, I was so deep like that. But in my dreams, people that I always see come to, I don't see any demon. I see people like human beings come to me. I never see any creature with horns, with tail, with a scary shape, the way it is written in the book. I have never seen that. Even some deities that I have actually evoked and they came to me, they were dressed up, they were like black people, dressed up like normal looking people. Yes, you will be shocked.
Wow.
I have never seen, so I was thinking, how come people are describing that they are seeing some certain demons, some creatures with wings, with claw legs, with dripping blood. But why am I not seeing all these creatures? And I'm doing everything. I meditate, I do all the processes. I do not see this. But I affect change. Sometimes I get results, sometimes I don't get results, sometimes I hear voices, sometimes I see symbols in my mind's eye, but it's not really as it is in the books of many of these grimoires. So my conclusion is that maybe some certain people see things different the way we black people see things different. Yes. Then also too, I have been able to, my own belief, the worst thing that have happened to me in evocation in this process is that when I went into some deep meditation, I found myself transforming into like that deity that I was focusing on. That was what happened to me. So it's like the experience was much more internal than external. It's not like something was supposed to appear in my front that when we have it discussion. The experience was coming in from inside, like that certain deity was a part of me. It was not something outside of me. So I have come to the conclusion that African spirituality may be a bit different from Western spirituality. And another thing I have come to discover is that most of the Western practice, if you say Western black magic, the gatekeepers, these deities originated in Africa. You can trace their origin back to Africa, like Lucifer, is Amemom in Egypt. Lucifer Amemom is the same guy. So when you try to go to this deity through that form, it's like it's a little bit diluted. As an African, it's like you are taking the long way to go to a place. But if you use true African spirituality, it's like you're taking a shortcut to that the same location. Yes, in a way, go through the right path. So I have been able to trace some of these deities back to ancient Africa, and because African spirituality, there was Africa before there was Europe. So these European deities, if we go to the, say with the Greek pantheon, Zeus and Loki and the first giants, they were after African spirits, right? Most of those deities were drawn from African spirituality. Hence, is taught in Egypt. Hence, Trismegistus in Greek, the god of wisdom, is the same guy in Egyptian spirituality. Is taught, and in Western black magic, also Lucifer with a cow. You see how it goes? It's Lucifer, it's the same person. If you look at Western spirituality, Lucifer, the deity, is very, very horrible, depicted in a very, very horrible, gross form. You will not want to get anything to do with that spirit. But in Greek and Egyptian pantheon, he's a very nice guy. He's the god of writing, the god of wisdom. He wrote the Emirate tablets from Atlantis. He did so many great work. But in the Western black magic, they call him the scribe of the Fana Empire. Can you imagine? Yes. So you can see that kind of thing. Then Lucifer, that people are saying he fell from heaven, he got thrown out of heaven, is chained in hell. Lucifer is simply Amon Ra of ancient Egypt. He didn't fall from any. So there was a kind of misinterpretation or misunderstanding, sorry, along the line. When you trace these deities, you will find that Isis, which is a divine mother, is now Lilith in the Jewish pantheon. In the African pantheon, she is painted as the Holy Mother, pure, supreme, a black lady. But if you see her as Lilith, she is depicted like a vampire, that woman that is interested in blood and sex, voluptuous lady that is like a lady that is like with low morals.
Yes, that's how they depict her.
Not fitting for a lady. Yes. And people venerate her like that in that picture. But I cannot bring myself to venerate her like that. I cannot say like a picture of a woman that looked like a prostitute in a way. Sorry to say this now. Say this is a divine mother. I just cannot picture that lady in that form. Yes. So I noticed this kind of trend in how spirits are degraded in one culture and their correspondence in another culture. So I think most of these spirits that are debased in, especially in Western cultures, are due to the effect of Christianity. When Christianity took over African spirituality, they have to demonize the African deities to make them look bad, to make them look like evil, worthless creatures. As real, they give them that demonic picture that these are this kind of deities. They are evil deities. They are nothing to write home about. But those are not the real nature of the deities. And sadly, people believe this story, especially in the Western world. So many people, because they came from that culture. That culture is the after culture of African culture. So the real spirituality was diluted from Africa. We do not see those spirits as demons. We see them as the most purest aspect of our higher self. So we see them as people, elders, people that we aspire to become like. We don't see them as rotting, smelling, foul creatures, half-naked women, deities, drinking holy blood, or stuff like that. So we cannot see those deities like that. We can't. That's why we cannot see them like that. We have to see them as humans. Yeah.
Yes.
When I
yes.
go into this meditation, I try to call on it. I totally relax myself to get the feeling. I never have that kind of impression of a foul, demonic creature. I never have that kind of connection. So it came to my mind that for a very long time, I assumed that if I'm not seeing it exactly as it's written on the book, that means I have not advanced. See, I was having that problem for a very long time. Until I started seeing that, I discovered that we in Africa, we see things different from the way people in Western see things. They came out fully from the Christian culture, and the impact on them is much stronger. And maybe the spirits understand that they have to see them in this form to actually be able to work with them. So the way we see things is a bit different. We don't see things the same way. But yet we work with these deities. When I see these deities, I see them like our African ancestors.
Yes.
People that have come from. Yes. I don't see them as separate from us. So I believe like you just living your natural life. So we don't need to go through a lot of procedures in making contact the way people from the Western world need to do before they get contact with the spirit. Yes, we don't really need to do that. We just need to focus more on who we are as people, know more about our history and the fundamentals of our spirituality, and just start contacting these deities. Quite natural and like that. That is my view on this vocation of seeing spirit in various forms. I have had dreams I've never seen, contrary to what people write in their grimoires of this spirit being terrible. I have never had that kind of encounter. I have never seen them like that. This is just my 2 cents on the issue, and I wanted to know about yours as well.
Also, mine was the same experience, and I've realized that most of the books that are written in the West, they actually have a mistranslation. Like the light that I see in meditation, there's some lights that they label as the white light. It is a white light, but the way that they describe it and the way you would see it in those guided meditations is something entirely different to what actually happens when you see it when you are meditating. And also the deities, the deities, they are misinterpreted and they are also given descriptions that are nowhere near what they say.
Exactly. Yes.
What they are. And this thing was another factor that put me off this Western magic spirituality path, because it's like you're doing one practice and next time you're jumping on another thing. There's no system that you can follow that will be giving consistent results. So that's what put me off. And like when you go into Hinduism, there's things that you do as a beginner, and then as you advance, there's things that you do, and then as you learn more.
Step-by-step approach.
Exactly.
You're right about that. I have come to experience something like that as well. So at the end of the day, the basis is still the best. Yes, when it comes to spirituality, you might want to focus on the system that is the easiest to approach and will give you the best of results. Yes. If you focus on the African spiritual practice, that is what you will get. The systems are easy to approach and the results are far reaching. That is why I still believe that African spirituality is still the best. Although we can focus on Western black magic for the intellectuality, for documentation. But if you still want to practice real spirituality, you still need to have this root connection with the head, and you need a system that is easily practicable. Yes. So another thing that you already have that foundation. Hinduism have that. African spirituality have that. Yes, recently I've been experimenting, studying Brazilian Queen Banda.
Okay.
This is the Brazilian spirituality that was taken from West Africa to Brazil during the transatlantic slave trade. I've come to realize that in its form, we have 2 kind of Brazilian spirituality. We have Umbanda. We have Quimbanda.
Okay.
Umbanda is the practice that has been mixed with Christianity. The atomic of the deity is it is like a soft version, diluted version.
Just like Santeria.
Yes. Why Quimbanda is the pure African version that is undiluted. And the system, the deities in that system are exactly the same that is in my own cultural tribe in Nigeria. In fact, I discovered that it's more complete than my own deity in my own cultural tribe, because the one we have now in my state in Nigeria, due to the effects of Christianity, some of the deities have been removed, some of them have been forgotten, have been destroyed due to what Christians have been preaching that they are demons, they should be destroyed. Some of them have been forgotten. Why the Brazilians still have the full complete system.
Wow.
They still have it with them because they didn't destroy it, they didn't affect it. It's like they're just preserving it there. Why religion is ravaging West Africa, the deities are enjoying complete freedom right in Brazil.
Wow, that's wonderful.
I'm trying to incorporate them back to complete my own system in my cultural system. I'm trying to incorporate them back home. Yeah, it's a very interesting thing. One day I'm going to do a video on them, on this whole topic.
Yes.
So at the end of the day, going back to the basics is still the best way. But why I was interested in this African black magic, Western black magic, is that I got my roots in spirituality from there. When I first dived into spirituality, I told you I went into Rosicrucianism. I know nothing about African spirituality. It was from Rosicrucianism that I went into Western black magic. I went in very deep. I studied the 9 papers. I studied how the system operates. I was able to work with the system. Then I discovered that I knew nothing about African spirituality. I knew nothing about my own African. I started studying African spirituality. I had to go back home to learn about African spirituality. So now I understand both aspects. That's why I can flow with Western black magicians. I know all about the system. I know exactly because I have studied it and I have practiced it, and I know about African spirituality. So I can be able to merge both facts together. That was why I was able to write a book on quantum physics, because I was able to draw from both aspects together. So I'm very well vested in the topic because of this. But at the end point, if I would advise anybody based on spirituality to the basics, whatever works best with minimum effort is the best method. So that is the way I see it. So
I also think the best way.
But today, I think we have talked much, and we need to test this recording to see how it is.
Okay, perfect.
You still have more people at...
No, I only had a question. What did I want to ask you? What was it? Oh, I saw your video on quantum physics, and then you asked something about the what was it? You said something. You wrote something up. The one, I think you said something about the difference between the one that focuses or the one that is focused on, or what is perceived or what.
Actually, it's the principle, one of the principles in quantum physics, that when you focus your observation on an object, you are actually explaining that object by focusing your attention on it. So,
interesting.
Always argue. It is the point where people a point of argument or discussion in quantum physics. Who comes first? Is it the particle that you are observing, or is it you that are observing? Which of you came into existence first? So you can argue against or for that motion. Some people will say it is the particle have been in existence until you came and discovered it. Or some people will say, I am the one that is in existence. I come first, then that particle came into my reality. So it is a theory on its own. Some people believe that we are God in this universe. that by observing things, we create them, we bring them into reality.
Okay.
They change as you focus on them.
Oh, okay.
People believe
Wow, that's wonderful.
their systems are already in existence, that it is you, that is not real.
Wow. So that would be the answer to bad things manifesting after you focused on them.
Yes, when you focus on something to a certain degree, we can also look at it in another way. Like we in Africa, living our own life peacefully, not knowing anything about the other world, and then some people came from another place and they start observing us. So who came first? Is it the Africans or the early colonizers? I'm looking at it from that point again.
Wow. Okay. It's a nice view of things.
So in the book, I actually went very deep about the origin of African spirituality. I explained that in the video. Yes, I was able to trace the origin of African spirituality with well-documented scientific evidence. So over 250,000 years before Christ was discovered or was created. Yes. It was backed by real concrete scientific evidence from Africa.
So the book that you wrote is the link under the description of that video that we are talking about.
Yes, the link is there. You can download the first chapter of the book from there.
Okay.
But now the full book is not. I've completed it. This is the second edition. I'm currently selling that book for $15 for the e-copy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a very good book that everybody needs to have. Everybody, especially Africans, because it contains the history of Africa for the last 250,000 years. It contains many scientific evidence about the origin of Africans, the origin of African spirituality, and then incorporate many scientific principles that is evidence in African spirituality. You can see the evil forest, the black hole in science, the wormhole, time travel, the definition of black magic, white magic. We talk about the ghost DNA as well, mitochondrial DNA of a black woman. I went into the carbon 66 fundamental block of humanity.
Wow.
I went into so many deep topics. I was able to compile all this information into a concise form that will be easily to understand and digest by all kind of people. So it's something that I think we go a long way to come and educate people about Africa for the last 250,000 years. To be able to know, even the inception of religion, I put everything inside. So, just like a manual of life that everybody needs to have.
You really did the research, sure.
Yeah, I did the research for 3 years.
Wow. 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 Oh.
I am still doing more research. We have many things we don't know. Every time start coming out new findings are coming out every day. You get it one day. That is it.
So I also saw a video on your wall on Facebook. It was actually different videos. One guy jumping into the fire, one cooking with his hands, and another one was doing what? I can't remember, but they were doing it was some other videos that you uploaded. Another guy was in the fire, but he was not burning. The other one was cooking with his hands, stirring pots with his hands, and the other one was dancing in the fire.
Okay, that was not a recent video. I don't think I posted that. It's just different aspect of reality. We can say something like that.
Okay, I've noticed in Hinduism, you have yogis, ne? Those guys, they train. You train your mind to concentrate to a point whereby you can't actually feel the external
yes. Actually, those people that did that fire tribe, they are from Cameroon. Yes, you know, the people that were sitting on fire, eating fire. Yes. These people, somehow they have been able to, how will I say, master the element of the principle of fire to certain extent that they know what to do that it will not really affect them. Yes, I was amazed by the videos of what they can be able to do with fire. There was one that was actually eating hot coal, eating it like it's eating corn. I feel like 2 or 3 of them were sitting on the fire, they were not getting burned. I think that technology is very important. With that, we can be able to apply, we can be able to crystallize this kind of formula. We can create fireproof houses, fireproof vehicles, fireproof materials in the world. So I think more research needs to be done in that regard. There are the fire tribe of Cameroon. They do a lot of things with fire during their ceremonies. They don't get burned. I don't know how they do it. But most of these practices, they are always shrouded in secrecy in African spirituality, main culture in Africa. That is another problem I would like to talk about. The secrecy in African spirituality is just too much. And I think that's one of the problems that is killing African spirituality. Yes, we need to be able to expose most of these secret so we can use it to improve our lives. That is a video for another day. So the way I saw this, I was very much interested. Maybe in the future, if I have enough money, I'll try to see if I can get in touch with those people. We also have those kind of practices in Nigeria. There are people that can meditate from the ground. There are also people that can disappear by rotate. There are practices that have that. But these people, they are hard to come by, and most of them are this formula to secret. I believe we can be able to use this kind of thing for time travel. This kind of formula can be incorporated to create devices for time and space travel. Yes. I talked about this phenomenon in the book. That's in my book. I talk about it. Because I believe that spirituality is science that have not been discovered yet. And science is spirituality that has already been discovered. So we need to merge both of them together. Science and spirituality, I believe, go together. So if anything that can happen in spirituality, then there must be a valid scientific principle behind it for it to be able to happen, right? Yes. We have not been able to discover that scientific principle yet. Once we discover that principle, we will be able to discover the formula and physicalize it and start creating physical devices to now incorporate that quality and use for practical everyday usage. I believe it is possible. That's all.
Okay, my brother, it was nice to have you, and I enjoyed our conversation.
Yes, talk to you as well.
Thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Talking from time to time like this to talk about new topics. So be able to explore this part together and create awareness of African spirituality, Africa and the rest of the world. So I'm very delighted.
Can you please tell us how our audience can contact you?
Yes, they can reach me on YouTube channel Afro Scientific Spirituality. They can also follow that channel. There's a link to that to the Metaphysical Study Group under the channel where we discuss about the relationship between science and African spirituality, metaphysics. They are interested in joining the WhatsApp group. They can join the WhatsApp group as well. They can also check out the book I wrote on the interrelationship between the evil forest and metaphysics in quantum physics and African spirituality. The book will give them a outline of what has happened to Africa for the last 250,000 years, with the basic scientific principles, the fundamental scientific principles of African spirituality. For those that are just starting new on their path, this book will bring them up to speed with what has been happening for Africans and African spirituality, and the latest information, the scientific research that have been done on African spirituality on quantum physics will bring them up to speed. In fact, it's going to update them with everything they need to know about this fact and this practice. So I will recommend them trying to get a copy of that book. That is it.
Okay, that's perfect. Thank you.
Take care, and I hope to see you again very soon.
Peace, my brother.
Okay, peace. Take care.
Peace.
Bye.